Here's a quick overview of your assignment for writing a paper on 2 film versions of Hamlet. So you're going to research a thematic element in Hamlet and watch at least 2 film versions. And you're going to use the 2 film versions to compare the way a supporting character is used to convey that thematic element. So you'll need to identify the theme, you'll need to identify the supporting character. Sometimes I call that the minor character. Generally in literature we call that a minor character, but since we are watching 2 film versions, oftentimes minor characters are supporting characters, and of course some characters seem more minor than others. Some of the minor characters are really quite strong characters. Ophelia, for example, is one. Of course, Claudius, the villain, is another. So the idea is that you are not writing about the title character, Hamlet. You're writing about one of the minor characters. And the reason for that is that if you really compared Hamlet in 2 film versions, the main character, you would have a much longer paper. Or the paper would be very much on the surface level, I'm afraid. So I really want to challenge you to dig deep and notice details and give me something really thoughtful and meaningful about how a minor character conveys a specific theme that you have discovered in the play. And if you need to figure out what a theme might be, I have posted for you a whole lot of study guides, which should not be confused with scholarly sources. The study guides that I have posted links for are things like Lit Charts and Course Hero, and the Royal Shakespeare Company has a study guide. The My Shakespeare website is fantastic. Use one of those study guides to help you understand the play and a minor character and the themes in the play. But don't quote from those study guide sources. Those are not college level research sources. So you'll really need to use your AVL sources, Alabama Virtual Library sources, to look for college level sources. As you can see on the Blackboard page, I have given you a folder that has these sort of study guide resources to help you understand the play, and I have added the phrase "not intended as college level secondary sources" just to ensure that you are not using these online study guides. And even finding a different online study guide, if you can find an online study guide, that is not the source that you're going to be quoting as your secondary source. That's the scholarly source. Here I have gifted you, if you are so lucky to have this folder, I have gifted you some possibilities for sources from AVL. So take a look at those to find out what possibilities I have offered you for secondary sources there. And you only need one secondary source that is a printed secondary source. Really, the films are also secondary sources, but you're not quoting from the films, you're just describing the films. What you will be quoting from will be the play. So the 2 things you will quote from, one will be the scholarly source that helps you describe the way a character conveys a specific theme, and the other will be the play from the textbook. So the proposal will just be a working thesis and a preliminary works cited. Now, the thesis should say something about how a minor character says something about real life. So what you're looking for a theme is something that you can see happening in the play where this minor character is concerned, and how that reflects something that you understand about your current culture in everyday life. How do you see something in one of these characters that you see as something that's common in the human experience or human behavior? So if you get stuck, just write a very simple sentence or a paragraph about the minor character and how that minor character reminds you of traits that people that you know have. And then that may help you consolidate a good arguable thesis statement. Because really, literature is holding a mirror up to us. We want to see what we're like, and literature lets us do that. Hamlet even uses the play and talks about the play that he calls the Mousetrap to hold a mirror up to Claudius and Gertrude to see if they are guilty. If they react, he knows they're guilty. If we react to literature, what does that tell us about us? What is that mirror showing us that makes us a bit uncomfortable? And it might be reflecting us, or it might be reflecting something we recognize about everyday society, about other people. All right, so your preliminary works cited will contain, of course, the play from the textbook, at least one secondary source, and the 2 film versions. Okay, so the film versions, I have posted for you samples of the works cited. In your handout about the essay, I have specified don't use these online study guides for your secondary source. Please be sure that you read every detail of the handout so that you can get all the requirements. Now, you will have 3 to 4 pages to accomplish a good analysis of a minor character. Of course, you're going to use the same requirements that you have used since English 101 for MLA format, for including source citations and basic layout and all of those things that you already know how to do. If you are struggling with any of those things, please go see the tutors. They are free. You can use the tutors online, or you can go in person. And I have posted that information under Help of All Kinds on our Blackboard page and also in the handout. So multiple places you have access to sources that will help you find out how to get some help with your essay. So I have not required you, quite possibly this semester anyway, to do the outline for this essay, but I find that letting you know what I expect for the body paragraphs especially is outlines are really useful for that purpose. So I just want to walk you through this basic outline. I always put working title there or an actual title. I don't want you to forget to include a title. Sometimes it's as much as 10% of your grade. The title should be creative and original. You should have a working thesis, of course, and the working thesis should continue to change and develop as you continue to do your research and just your thinking and writing about the play. So writing is really just the process of thinking slowly and intentionally in a way that's concrete enough you can put the words down on paper. Thinking without writing is often so abstract that you don't really get anything that you can work with or anything that'll really stick. So writing is important for helping you contain your thoughts. So your introduction will look like just about any introduction that you have ever written for an essay. Now the body paragraphs, I would start with one aspect of the minor character that helps Shakespeare say something important about the things people experience in real life. Okay, something that helps prove the thesis statement at the end of your introduction. So the end of your introduction is where the thesis statement goes, and each body paragraph or body section should be, a subpoint of that thesis statement, something that helps support the thesis. So that would be the main idea. And then introduce the scholarly source's idea and use a direct quotation, the exact words from the scholarly source. And the source should be from Alabama Virtual Library. And you should correctly integrate the source using standard written English and MLA format. And then you need to include your own ideas after you've quoted the scholar. So be in conversation with that scholar, contribute your own ideas about the character, and build on what that scholar says about the way that character functions in the play to convey a specific theme. And now part C. Part C might actually need to be a new paragraph if you've spent a good deal of time in conversation with the scholar and that point that you've established about the way a minor character's conveying a theme in the play. So part C is where I would take the time to use pieces of 2 film versions to say how what the scholar has pointed out and what I have built upon in conversation with that scholar, how do I see that playing out in 2 film versions? And one film version may support a certain aspect of the minor character supporting a theme more than another. And I would look at those different choices because really a film is an analysis of the play. So what the director or actor chooses to emphasize or leave out completely or just de-emphasize in some way, that is an analysis of what this producer or director or actor feels is important for the audience to see and remember and know about the character. So really think about that. This is your time to really show your close watching of the films and close reading of the play so that you can say something meaningful about that minor character. And then you're going to do that all again. So another point from using the scholarly source, you can use the same scholarly source to introduce 3 consecutive points. And I say consecutive, that's not always a normal thing in literary analysis, but I feel like in this one it would work, and that's probably how I would do it. I would show an early scene or talk about an early scene that the character is in to show kind of like the baseline of this character's exposition, what the character is established as being like, and then a middle scene to show how the character develops, and then the final scene the character is in, possibly, to show, what ultimately happens with this character, what is the impact of this character's values on the outcome for the character, right? So a character is going to express some certain values. And so those values are probably the theme that you're going to be talking about in your thesis and proving throughout the body paragraphs. And then your conclusion will be like any other conclusion you've ever written, except if you were told in high school to write the phrase in conclusion or to conclude, or as I have already said, do not write those things in college anymore. We will say goodbye to high school strategies. They have their uses, and we're through with those uses now that we're in college. So you're just going to start with your thesis stated in a new way. You're going to review the main points as needed, the high points, and then tie back to the hook or leave the reader with a feeling that they have learned something valuable about literature's connection to real life from your exploration of the theme as conveyed through a minor character in Hamlet. Here I have Hamlet italicized. Make sure you italicize Hamlet when you're talking about the play, and use no italics when you're talking about the character. Be sure to print the SAM student handout that you would have printed the first week of class and kept with you for every writing assignment. And I have also included the high points about that on the handout for this essay. So be sure to print and read every detail of this essay handout. I have even shown you how to quote from the play and how to do the works cited. So read it carefully, keep it next to you while you write, and let me know if you have any questions.